All right, so today we're tackling a topic that I think hits pretty close to home for a lot of guys out there. Divorce.
Yeah.
And specifically how it impacts men.
Right.
And, I was really interested when you shared Conrad Reicher's book with me, Surviving Divorce, A Man's Guide to Regain Control.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that it's written by a guy who's been through it himself.
Exactly.
So he's not, just theorizing about this stuff.
He's been in the trenches.
Yeah, exactly. So consider this our deep dive into the challenges men face during and after divorce.
Absolutely.
And how to not just survive, but thrive after going through it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I found really fascinating about Reicher's approach is that he tackles this question that a lot of men going through divorce grapple with.
Okay.
Which is, why do women initiate divorce more often?
Yeah, you actually highlighted that stat in your notes.
Right, about two-thirds
Two-thirds.
of divorces are started by women.
According to the Journal of Marriage and Family.
Yeah.
So that's pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
But Reicher argues that, understanding the why can be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely, and he goes into some pretty interesting theories about it.
Okay.
One of the things he digs into is evolutionary psychology,
Okay.
suggesting that women might be biologically wired to seek the best possible partner, even if it means leaving a seemingly stable relationship.
Interesting.
And before anyone jumps to conclusions, it's important to remember that's just one theory.
Yeah, of course. And society's changed a lot too, right?
Absolutely.
Women are more independent now. They're in the workforce. They have more options.
Right.
It's not like the old days where they were solely reliant on a husband.
Exactly.
So Reicher argues that, this shift in societal roles definitely plays a part.
It's a huge factor.
Yeah. And then he also points out how media can create these unrealistic expectations about relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
You see these perfect couples on TV and in movies.
Constant passion, the happily ever after.
Right. It sets a really high bar. And then when reality doesn't match up, dissatisfaction can grow.
And resentment.
Yeah, for sure.
So Reicher's point is that understanding these factors can help men make more informed choices in their relationship.
Okay.
And also be more prepared for the complexities of divorce if it happens.
So we've got this trend of women initiating divorce more often. And then there's the legal system, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which Reicher argues can feel stacked against men.
Especially when it comes to alimony.
Right.
I mean, you think about it, alimony was originally intended to support women who couldn't work.
Right.
But now women make up a significant part of the workforce.
Yeah, huge part.
And yet the U.S. Census Bureau says 97% of alimony payers are men.
Wow.
So Reicher sees this as a huge disconnect.
Yeah, between how the law was designed and the reality of today's world.
Exactly.
In fact, the laws haven't caught up.
Right.
And it's not just alimony.
Yeah.
Reicher also talks about child custody battle and how men often feel like they're fighting an uphill battle there too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very clear about the importance of men knowing their rights and seeking legal counsel. It's about being proactive, understanding how the system works to protect yourself.
So, Reicher actually uses a pretty stark example in the book to illustrate how financially devastating divorce can be.
Oh, yeah. He talks about Bob.
Yeah, Bob, the architect.
Successful guy, house, career, family.
Seems like he had it all.
He did.
But then,
divorce hit him hard.
Yeah, lost the house, paid a ton in alimony and child support, and actually ended up filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's a really sobering story.
It is. And Reicher really breaks down how asset division, alimony, and child support can just drain a man's finances.
It can be devastating.
Yeah, so we've covered why women might initiate divorce more often.
Right.
And how the legal system can sometimes feel like it's working against men. But what about the emotional side of things?
That's a huge part of it.
It is. And Reicher really gets personal here,
He does.
sharing his own experience with depression and betrayal, even a loss of identity after his divorce.
Yeah, he talks about how men often bottle up their emotions, which can have serious consequences for their mental health in the long run.
Right.
So he encourages men to seek therapy, join support groups, find healthy ways to express themselves.
It's okay to not be okay.
Asking for help is a sign of strength.
Yeah. And he even shares a story about John, a guy who hit rock bottom after divorce,
Right.
but eventually sought help, rebuilt his life, and found a new, fulfilling relationship.
It's a powerful reminder that there's hope, even in the darkest of times.
There is, but one thing that really stood out to me was Reicher's point about the social stigma surrounding divorce,
Oh, yeah.
especially for men.
It's like there's this societal judgment hanging over divorced men.
Right.
Like they've somehow failed.
Like they did something wrong.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly isolating.
Especially if you've lost your social circle in the process.
Absolutely.
So Reicher's advice is to rebuild your social network.
Yeah.
Find new hobbies, join clubs, volunteer, put yourself out there, even if it feels uncomfortable.
Yeah. You highlighted that part in your notes, right?
I did, because it's so important.
It is.
And he gives some really practical practical advice on how to do it.
He does.
He uses the example of Mark, who joined a hiking club after his divorce
Right.
and ended up meeting a whole new group of friends who shared his passion for the outdoors.
Exactly. It shows how shared interests can really help forge those new connections.
Yeah, but it's not just about finding new friends.
No.
Riker also talks about reconnecting with old friends, reaching out to family members, rebuilding those relationships that might have been strained during the divorce.
It's about letting people know you're still there, you need their support, and you value their friendship.
Yeah, and he also talks about the power of online communities.
Oh, absolutely.
There are so many forums and groups online where you can connect with people who have been through similar experiences.
It's a great way to find support and a sense of belonging.
It is. So he encourages men to be open to new connection, try different things. And remember that building a social network takes time and effort,
It does.
but the payoff can be huge, especially during tough times.
That's then.
So we've talked about the why behind women initiating divorce more often.
Right.
We've talked about the legal system, and we've talked about the social and emotional impact.
The whole picture.
Yeah, and it's heavy stuff, but it's important to understand these challenges.
It is.
Because in the next part of our deep dive,
Right.
we're going to explore Riker's specific strategies for rebuilding your life after divorce.
We'll get into the practical steps.
Exact. So stay tuned for that.
Don't go anywhere. So, we spent a lot of time in that last part talking about the emotional and legal stuff of divorce.
Yeah, the heavy stuff.
But you know what? I think it's time to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about rebuilding.
Okay.
Because Riker really emphasizes that, divorce doesn't have to be the end. It can be a new beginning.
Yeah. You actually marked a passage in the book about that.
Yeah.
Rediscovering yourself, finding new passions, building a life that's even better than before.
It's about taking control again.
Yeah, and it's a really positive outlook considering everything we talked about.
It is. He's very optimistic.
Yeah. So where does he suggest guys even start?
Well, one of the first things Riker suggests is finding new hobbies and passions.
Okay.
And it's not just about keeping busy, right? It's about reconnecting with yourself and finding things that spark joy.
So like what kinds of things is he talking about?
Well, he actually talks about this guy named John who got back into running after his divorce.
Okay.
And it wasn't just about, getting in shape. It was about rediscovering a passion from his younger days.
Okay.
Something that gave him a sense of accomplishment and purpose.
Okay, so it was more than just physical.
Exactly. It helped him mentally and emotionally too.
Interesting.
It became a healthy outlet for his stress.
Okay.
A way to channel his energy.
So Riker believes that finding a new hobby can be a powerful tool for rebuilding.
Absolutely.
It's about creating a new routine, finding something you're excited about,
Right.
giving yourself something to look forward to.
And he even suggests, exploring different options.
Okay.
Taking classes, joining clubs, volunteering, trying new things and seeing what clicks.
So it doesn't have to be some big expensive thing.
No, not at all.
Could be joining a book club or picking up gardening or...
Learning a musical instrument.
Right. The key is finding something you genuinely enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay, so new hobbies, got it. What else?
Well, along with exploring new hobbies, Riker also talks about the importance of rebuilding your social network after divorce.
Yeah, that could be tough.
It can be, especially if you lost friends during the process.
Right. It's easy to feel isolated.
Absolutely. But he stresses that connecting with others is crucial.
And you actually highlighted this part in your notes.
I did.
Especially the section where he gives advice on how to do it.
Yeah, because it's not always easy.
Right. So what does he suggest?
Well, he suggests joining clubs, volunteering, attending social events, putting yourself out there even if it feels uncomfortable.
So like what putting yourself out there, what does that even look like?
Well, he uses this great example of Mark,
Okay.
who joined a hiking club after his divorce.
Okay.
And he ended up meeting a whole new group of friends who shared his passion for the outdoors.
Oh, that's great.
It is. And it shows how shared interests can really help forge new connections.
Yeah, but it's not just about finding new friends, right?
Right.
What about the friends you already have?
Riker also talks about reconnecting with old friends,
Okay.
reaching out to family members, rebuilding those relationships that might have been strange during the divorce.
It's about letting people know that you're still there. You need their support.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you value their friendship.
And you know what? We live in a digital age now.
We do.
And there are so many people online.
Absolutely.
So many communities online.
He talks about that too.
Does he?
Yeah, the power of online community.
That's great.
It is because there are so many forums and groups online where you can connect with people who have been through similar experiences.
And it's invaluable.
It is. It's a great way to find support and a sense of belonging.
So he encourages men to be open to new connections, try different things. And remember that building a social network takes time and effort,
It does, but the payoffs can be huge.
especially during tough times.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got new hobby, we've got rebuilding our social network. What else?
Well, Riker also focuses on personal growth after divorce.
Okay.
It's not just moving on,
Right.
it's using the experience to learn, grow, and become a better version of yourself.
So how do you even begin to do that?
Well, he encourages men to reflect on mistakes they might have made in their marriage,
Okay.
to identify patterns they want to change, and to work on becoming more self-aware.
So it's about taking responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge to grow.
And is therapy a part of that?
He's a big advocate for therapy or counseling.
Yeah.
Because, divorce can be traumatic.
It can be.
And having a safe space to process those emotions and develop coping mechanisms is really important.
So therapy is not a sign of weakness.
No. He emphasizes that it's a sign of strength. It's about taking care of your mental health and giving yourself the tools to move forward.
Okay. And what about like self-help books or things like that?
He suggests those too.
Yeah.
Workshops, online courses, anything that helps you invest in yourself and your growth.
Okay.
But one specific area he emphasizes is communication skills.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's something so many couples struggle with.
For sure.
And it can definitely contribute to divorce.
Yeah.
So Riker argues that learning to communicate effectively is essential for building healthy relationships moving forward.
So what kind of advice does he give?
Well, he gives some really practical advice, like learning to listen actively,
Okay.
expressing yourself clearly, managing your emotions. He also talks about nonviolent communication.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, which is about focusing on understanding and empathy
Okay.
rather than blame.
That sounds really powerful.
It is, and it could be helpful not just in romantic relationships.
In all areas of life. So we've covered hobbies, social networks, personal growth. But let's face it, one of the most challenging parts of rebuilding after divorce is re-entering the dating world.
Oh, absolutely.
It can be daunting.
Especially if you haven't been single for a while.
Yeah, there's the fear of rejection, anxiety about starting over.
It's a whole new landscape.
It is, and let's not forget the logistics.
Oh, right.
Especially if you have kids.
Oh, yeah. That adds a whole new layer of complexity.
It does. So what does Riker suggest?
Well, his advice is to take it slow.
Okay.
Be honest about your situation and find someone who shares your values and goals.
So it's not about rushing into a new relationship.
It's about finding the right person at the right time.
Okay. And what about being upfront about your past?
He talks about that too.
Right.
Like, being upfront about the divorce and any children you have.
Yeah.
It's about being transparent from the start and finding someone who accepts you for who you are.
And are there certain avenues he suggests for dating or?
He encourages men to try different dating avenues.
Okay.
Online apps, social events, introductions through friends. It's about expanding your horizons and seeing what works.
But it's also important to remember self-care during the dating process, right?
He's big on that
Yeah.
because it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and lose sight of your own needs.
Right.
So he reminds us that it's okay to take breaks, say no, and prioritize your own well-being.
That's good advice.
It is. And he even offers tips on creating a dating profile, navigating online conversations, and having successful first dates.
So he really gets into the nitty-gritty.
He does.
Yeah.
It's about approaching dating with confidence and authenticity,
Yeah.
and remembering that it should be enjoyable.
So we've talked about a lot here.
We have.
Hobbies, social networks, personal growth dating, and it can feel like a lot.
It can be overwhelming.
It can. But what's Riker's overall message about rebuild?
Well, he emphasizes that rebuilding your life after divorce is a journey,
Okay.
not a
So
destination.
it's not like you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm rebuilt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking things one step at a time, being patient with yourself, and celebrating your progress along the way.
And how do you stay motivated on that journey?
Well, he encourages men to set realistic goals,
Okay.
focus on the positive, and remember that setbacks are normal.
And not to beat yourself up when you have those setbacks.
Exactly. He's a big proponent of self-compassion.
Because it's easy to be critical of yourself.
Oh, it is, especially when things don't go as planned.
Right.
But he reminds us to be kind to ourselves, acknowledge our efforts, and celebrate our successes.
So what would you say is like the most powerful message in the book?
I think one of the most powerful messages is that divorce doesn't have to define you. It's an experience, a chapter in your life.
Right.
But it doesn't determine your worth or your future.
Okay.
So he encourages men to use the experience as a catalyst for growth.
Okay.
To learn from their mistakes, to build a better life, and to find happiness on their own terms.
That's a really empowering message.
It is.
So before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want you to consider what resonated with you most in this discussion about rebuilding. What steps are you ready to take?
What challenges are you facing?
Hold on to those thoughts.
Yeah.
Because next we'll be wrapping up our exploration of Conrad Riker's Surviving Divorce.
And talking about some of the broader implications of all of this.
You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about the personal impact of divorce, for the individuals involved.
Right.
But Riker doesn't stop there.
He doesn't.
He also explores the broader societal implications, and it gets really interesting.
It does.
So what are some of the things he talks about?
Well, one thing he highlights is the economic fallout of divorce. It's not just about dividing assets between two people.
Right.
It has ripple effects effects on the entire economy.
And you actually cited some statistics in your notes about this.
Yeah, in the US alone, divorce creates this divorce economy.
Oh, wow.
Worth an estimated $50 billion annually.
That's huge.
It is.
So where is all that money going?
Well, it includes legal fees, the costs of setting up separate households,
Right.
all the things that go along with splitting up a life.
Yeah, and that's just the direct impact.
Exactly.
What about the indirect impact?
Well, you have to think about the decreased consumer spending,
Okay.
the effects on the housing market, the strain on social services.
Right.
It's a massive issue that often gets overlooked.
It does. And Riker also talks about, the long-term consequences for children.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially the increased risks of poverty and emotional challenges for kids raised in single-parent households.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It's a sobering reminder that, divorce doesn't just affect the couple.
Right.
It has far-reaching effects on families and society as a whole.
It does.
But you know what I appreciate about Riker is that he's not just pointing out problems.
He's not.
He's offering potential solutions too.
He is.
So what are some of the things he suggests?
Well, he's a strong advocate for reforming divorce laws to make them more equitable for men. He argues that many laws are outdated and unfairly disadvantage men, especially when it comes to alimony and child custody.
So he's calling for a more balanced approach.
Exactly.
That recognizes the contributions of both parents and focuses on what's truly best for the children.
And he's not just focused on the legal side of things.
Right.
He also advocates for more resources for men going through divorce.
Like what kind of resource?
Well, support groups, counseling services, financial planning advice. It's about acknowledging that men need support too and providing them with the tools to navigate this difficult transition.
And I think it's important to point out that, he also brings up the need for greater societal awareness of the challenges men face during divorce.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are these outdated stereotypes out there.
There are.
About men being unemotional or uninvolved fathers.
Right. And those stereotypes can be really harmful.
They can.
So it's about breaking down those narratives and creating a more supportive and understanding environment.
Yeah, and, I know some of Riker's views might be controversial.
They can be.
And I'm not saying we have to agree with everything he says.
Of course not.
But I do think it's important to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
Divorce is a complex issue.
It is.
With no easy answer.
Right.
And understanding different perspectives and challenges is crucial if we want to find solutions that work for everyone.
I think that's the key takeaway here.
Yeah, and what's important for you, the listener, is to remember that Riker's book is just one perspective. It's important to consider all sides of the issue.
Right. Do your own research.
And form your own informed opinions.
Exactly.
But ultimately, I think Riker's book is a call to action. Not just for men going through divorce, but for society as a whole.
It's about recognizing the need for change, challenging the status quo, and creating a future where divorce is less damaging and more equitable for everyone involved.
And before we wrap up, I want to emphasize something that Riker repeats throughout the book.
Yeah, what's that?
You are not alone.
That's so important.
It is because divorce can feel incredibly isolating.
Can?
But there are resources available.
There are.
People who care and communities that can offer support.
So don't be afraid to reach out.
Right.
Ask for help. Connect with others who understand what you're going through.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in learning more about Comrade Riker's work, you can find his book, Surviving Divorce, A Man's Guide to Regain Control, available on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
It's a great resource.
It is. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But remember, divorce doesn't have to be the end.
It doesn't.
It can be a new beginning.
Absolutely.
It's about finding your way through the storm and emerging stronger on the other side.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's all for our deep dive today.
Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you on the next one.